Let's try that again. We'll try and get this back up and running again, folks. So bear with me. Hope we're all well. You know what to say, third time is a charm, and that is definitely a charm in Donegal. Apparently there was an update that nobody's phone was allowing them to download, so I had to uninstall the app, restart my phone, and hopefully now we will be cooking with gas, folks. Cooking with gas, hey? That was the Alright, thank you. That's okay.
Right, now you go and sit up nice.
So let's try and add in people. Try adding you one at a time. Oh, it's fancy now. Yes, we do cook with gas in Donegal. So that's the only thing that we have. We still don't have electricity yet. Let's add. Have you got those invites? I just think you've both invites. Did you get them? Oh, never fear.
And this is going to confuse people.
Yes, you
It's an Inquisition.
So I'm going to send you another invite, Shane. Let me know if you get it. Ooh. How are you, mate?
Grand yourself.
Yeah, better if Instagram is working better. Right, it says that Shane is unable to join. Shane, do you want to jump back out and then jump back in and send us an invite? See if that works. You saying hello to everybody? Right.
Gonna be another one of them, is it?
Could be, man.
Yeah. One day.
There we go.
Oh,
Happy days. Happy days.
Yeah.
Happy days.
Don't we love technical?
Oh, honestly, with technology, the fucking Matrix, man. Honestly, every week the Matrix is. Should have taken the blue pill. The whatever pill was just pretty bad to being fucking Ronald Reagan. Man, turn that down.
Ronald Reagan?
Thank you very much. What?
Did you just say Ronald Reagan?
Ronald Reagan, yeah.
Yeah, because in the Matrix film, Cypher wants to go back into the Matrix, and Mr. Anderson, the agent, Mr. Smith, goes, "Of course, Mr. Reagan." He said, "I want to be an actor. I want to be somebody who's important." He goes, "Of course, Mr. Reagan." So that's
I
implying.
just thought that was his name.
I missed that for sure. Never heard him say Reagan.
Go back and watch the Matrix tonight. I guarantee he says Mr. Reagan.
Go back and actually see it.
You learn something new every day.
So eventually, after 25 minutes, an uninstall, an update, a reinstall, picking up the wife and picking up Tiny Toes from the swimming. We're now live with Inquisition. Thanks very much for joining us, Shane.
No worries. It was clearly the wife picking up that did it, that fixed everything. Obviously.
Yeah.
Of course. So for you that don't know, Shane is part of Donegal Dice Slingers. He's a tabletop player and he's also a Black Templar player, but we'll just not let that hold us against him. So Shane, first question that we ask everybody on Inquisition: what age were you when you got into Warhammer? What was the first model that you painted and why?
I'm pretty sure it was 12, but it may have been 11. The first model I no longer have, unfortunately, as we discussed for a little bit as well. It was a Carnifex, 3rd edition Carnifex, if anyone remembers it. Metal body, plastic legs, plastic arms. And I tried to put it together with plastic glue, and you could see or guess how well that went. However, the very second model I did actually find, which is the alternative, which is a metal Tyrannid Tyrannid 5-turn, sorry. So, terrible model, heavy. You do more damage throwing it at somebody. And yeah, that was the very first one, was the Carnifex, as I mentioned. My auntie bought me it. age 12, and that was the start of the hobby. That was third, fourth edition. And I was joined by a partner in crime, thankfully, who just lived over the road, which is Joseph, as you've met Duncan before. He ran the Called Chaos tournament, and he's a cheating bastard for those years that we played together. But it was a good time playing Warhammer at the start and getting into tournaments and getting my arse kicked in multiple games. But yeah, that was the first model. Was there another part of that question that I missed because I'm rambling?
Growing up, and I mean, that must have been like the 90s when you get into Warhammer. Then
yeah, just
late 90s, early 2000s.
99. So yeah, I'm 37, quarter of a century.
So Donegal would have just been getting electricity then. So how did you hear about Warhammer if Donegal had just got electricity?
You see, just across the border, we had Civilization Derry. So they had a little shop there called Trash that sold all the metal t-shirts, all the head shop stuff. And then tucked away in the corner was a little shelf of Warhammer with all White Dwarf, all the codexes, and the starter set for third edition, and actually tons of stuff. They'd order stuff in for you, like Porter Computers does now. They'd order stuff in, but it was quite a selection actually for Derry. I never had gone to a Games Workshop until I was like well older, probably like 18, 19 kind of thing. So that was the closest thing that was there. But yeah, just having that little ounce of civilization just 18 minutes away across the border was great for that, for sure.
Interesting that you called Derry Civilization. So
I'm comparing it to rural Donegal and Inishowen. So yeah, but it was Civilization by comparison.
So that was how the love affair kicked off. I remember that Carnifex that you mentioned, and I remember sitting there for hours trying to hold the glue and make sure it doesn't drop. And I hated that thing. So Tyrannus to Black Templars, explain that journey then.
There's actually gaps in between there as well that Duncan is not aware of, and only a few people are. So my second army after that was Chaos. I was gifted a ton of Chaos Marines. 1,000 Suns is what I went for, which meant I couldn't use Havocs, couldn't use jump packs, and it was just a Psyker army of little 1,000 Suns. I actually have one of them here as well, the old Aspiring Sorcerer, as it were. Terrible. Yeah. I'm not holding it any closer. Still terrible painter. And I had 5 Abaddon models for some odd reason, the old metal ones. After that, it was, I don't like admitting this, but I was a fish person for a while. I played Tau, and yeah, that was, oh my god, the painting on some of those models. I had a Crisis battlesuit that I gave away to somebody. I never sell my Warhammer models. I always give away if I don't want them anymore. And he stripped it down, and he told me it took him 5 weeks to strip through the 6 or 7 layers of unwatered down paint, and it looked like a and he just said it took forever. It wasn't worth the time. And then Templars, and Templars is the one I've been with since probably I'd say age 15 or 16. From there, I may have had like a Marine model too before that, but I have, I think, every firstborn model that has existed for Templars at least, or was Templar specific, because again there were some restrictions there. You couldn't own Whirlwinds and all that time as well. And I played with them at ETC in Geneva in 2011. That was quite an experience for Team Northern Ireland, and I may be going back to play this year, not necessarily Templars, but the WTC this year with Team Northern Ireland. I'll either be there as a coach playing singles, or I'll be playing. So either way, it'll be fun. But yeah, Templars for all those years. And as of just recently, I finally built the birthday present from 2 years ago that the wife got me, which was a 2,000 point army of Grey Knights. So I now have the Grey Knights built and painted and ready, that I was trying to get painted up till 4 a.m. in the morning before a tournament, which is another interesting one. I magnetized everything. The hammers that are on the Grey Knight Dread Knights, I took them off, I painted them, magnetized them, stuck them to the lamp in the hotel room at 4 a.m., went to the tournament the next day, and was like, where the hell's all my hammers? And that was an interesting conversation back to the hotel to explain to them, hey, please, if you find these little plastic things that are magnetized to the lamp, please don't throw them out. Just save them for me. And kudos to the dude. He had a little envelope with them saved for me at the end. But I was like, oh crap, I've just lost the hammers. And that would be great. But yeah, mostly Templars, but a sporadic other armies. Well, and loads of other little back other things like like Age of Sigmar, Necromunda as of the other day as well. And I'm sure like a massive pile of great data sitting underneath me and around me as well.
Cool. So with a lot of people that we've had on in this, there's always been a bit of a hobby break in there somewhere.
Oh yeah.
Sounds like you've been pretty constant all the way through. Would that be fair to say?
No, I wish I could claim every edition and everything of 40k. For me, I got to 6th edition. 5th edition I played quite. 6th I played, and then just sort of petered out. That 2011 was 5th edition, and it was a fun one. Good at the time as well. It was the year, and really, work and everything, and it just became too much to keep it up.
Yeah.
Tried 7th, tried to get back in, painted a few models, and then just didn't play 8th at all. And then W being the lovely people that they are, I was looking at 9th. Emmett back up because I'd moved back up to Donegal as well and work remotely. Emmett, Curran from Buncrana here, and my brother own a local computer shop, and they started selling Warhammer. And Emmett mentioned that, hey, or Adam mentioned to me, so my brother, that Emmett was looking for people to play, and we talked a little bit, and I was like, yeah, and I'll be back soon. I'll see what I've got, and we'll play a couple of games. And then GW, around November in 9th edition, 2019 was, or 2020, I can't even remember the start of 9th, released an entire new range of Templars. And I was like, damn you did that perfectly. I now have to own every one of these Templars and paint up a whole army. And I went from having no Primaris models in my army to having 100 and probably 40 models of the infantry models now, not including vehicles. And majority of them are painted. Not all, but the majority of those ones are painted. Because the Templars now have these big, massive, well, they always had, but they have proper lethal 20-man squads, which are orky, which are fun as fun could be. But yeah, that was the break. Was kind of end of 6th, start of 6th. 7th was not really. 8th didn't touch it, and 9th, like a lot of people, just brought straight back in. And loving 10th. The 10th is chef's kiss to GW. You've done such a good job with it so far.
Cool. So thinking of your Templars, then you say obviously you've got near enough every single firstborn mini you could get hold of for them. How many minis, if you were to look at everything that you've got, everything that you potentially had, what sort of numbers are we talking about? How many would it have been?
Points or physical models?
Let's do both.
All right. So physical models, including allies, must have at least between Primaris and First.
Looking at the back because I like the back. I don't even want them to look at the back.
Vehicle, probably close to 40, 50 vehicles now, actually. So yeah, between the speeders,
Love you, but
yeah,
love you, Mom.
350, 400, I say, because there's few little models that I'm not really accounting for. And then if I count allies like knights and stuff like that, there's more. So yeah, I would love to say I've got about 8,000 points. I'd say in my head that's about 8,000 points, but it's probably more if you start throwing like war gear. A lot of the firstborn stuff is not obviously the same anymore. Yeah, I can post my own. Yeah. I don't think another thing. Move to other things. I've still got a little great game to paint. Those 350, 400 is. I've still got loads of stuff like on sprues. Just all box sets that I didn't work the whole way through. So there's probably more models that aren't necessarily campers. But I definitely see myself continuing them again as well. But for that, I think my focus is other armies, because in Team Northern Ireland, I don't hate to admit this because he's an absolute star, but there's a better Black Camper there at the moment, and he destroys. So I don't know if Marty's going to be watching this or anything, but Martin is friggin' a star, and anyone that has to face him at WTC, you're dead. So
is that the guy that plays Ox? Who's it called? Chaos? No,
that's Mark Morrow. So another absolute Gentleman Star as well. Kicked my ass the other day with new Mega Knobs. Not enjoy that. they were painful. They're very, very hard to kill. Like Race, even harder. But Mark's lovely, very sound, very analytical player, very upfront with exactly what he's doing. So it's like watching yourself being taken apart in slow motion. It's great, but it's fun, like very, very fun opponent.
Uh, you said that you've done your grey nights, but I've got a bunch of grey nights there as well, and I'm trying to think of a colour scheme that's slightly different from everybody else's. Did you do your grey nights in the typical silver and kind of bluish armour?
I have two versions of the Grey Knights at the moment. So I've tried an all contrast paint one, with the exception of the metallics, like just was it Iron Warriors silver or whatever. I've tried a contrast complete one that I like. It's kind of like a light blue, and then I've got an option now of a few of them I haven't completed completely yet, where I can shade them down a little bit darker, so they actually do look a little bit more like the box art. And then the other ones I've got, which are mostly the firstborn ones, the older models that I kind of had lying around first, they are just literally Zenithal kind of spray black, Zenithal, I think it's lead belcher, and then details and all the metallics and all as well. I'd say they're darker than the actual color scheme. The one that I'm doing contrast is probably more towards the box art. I wish I had the talent of some painters where they look at it and they're like, I know exactly what I want to put in color scheme. But as my multimedia teacher told me in college, don't ever get into design. So I'm just terrible at associating colors with things. I'm not colorblind. I can see perfectly. I just cannot judge what's in fashion or style when it comes to color. And as the wife likes to say, I can't do it in clothes either, so it's fine.
Yeah, I'm trying to paint mine actually grey, so I'm just trying to find a nice grey that would actually like go with the grey nights. But when you're painting your models, do you stick to Citadel or have you branched out to any other paints?
I am hardcore Citadel just because I like the comfort factor of always being able to get it, and it's very accessible locally here in Buncrana and not other shops in Derry as well. It's very easy to just get that then and there. Not to say I don't have paints and tufts and other things from other areas and other product and manufacturers. I've got some army painter stuff. I've got some Vallejo. I was at LVO this year, so I picked up a couple of random ones. I think it was titanium white or something. One of the guys recommended to me, and I picked that up from. I can't even remember the name of the painter now. Something Pro on the bottle.
Pro.
It's over there.
Yeah.
And it was just recommended. It was like, if you want to paint white, that's what you want. I was like, okay, cool. And then some other products that are not GW, but the vast majority of my paints, painting station over there, is just all GW. And it really is just for convenience. I know there are conversion tables and all if you want to do it, but even when I get into that, my mind just kind of goes off completely. So I'm very much a paint by the numbers person. I think I do better when I'm following the guide than when I'm trying to do it myself. Although I'm happy with my neck and under color scheme. I've tried it out and I was like, this might work. Let me try it. And it worked. I was like, okay, that's fine. It's only 10 models as well, so it can't go horribly wrong. But yeah. So
like you're saying there that you played for like Team Ireland and that. How did you get involved in that aspect of the tabletop?
I'm not Team Ireland, clear, otherwise the TNI guys will scalp me. So I played for Team Northern Ireland in 2011. So just for context for anyone watching, Ireland, although as small of an island as we are, we do have Team Northern Ireland and Team Ireland. So there are two WTC teams, even for such a small country. In 2011, the Team and I group were, I'm not going to say we were competitive. We were there to play competitively, but we were there mostly for fun. And the team was very, very fun. I think the Team I have always maintained that kind of best team atmosphere kind of thing of them, just being generally kind, good-natured and fun. And with their stats recently and their play recently over the last WTC or the one before, they've gotten better, like really competitive as well, or like really higher in the rankings compared to when I was there in 2011. How I got into it, as if Joe was around, I'm just competitive. I enjoy being competitive. I enjoy seeking a victory or losing and then trying to figure out how I lost. It doesn't always mean that I will win the next time, but I do enjoy that analytical nature part of the game where you're trying to play for every point as it goes. And that's definitely why I prefer 9th and 10th edition for what they've been so far. 10th obviously was Stratagems, is always great, but the points aspect of it, like literally every point matters, every little decision matters. The older editions weren't as helpful as that. There was a lot of leaf blower lists and all. Now armies are a lot tougher. There's still a lot of damage out there, but you can play for literally every point the entire game through. So you could be down to your last model, and that clinched the victory for you at the very end. And I love that. So earlier though, in like 5th ed, it was more the atmosphere that you had. I lived in Dublin. Well, I lived in Kildare, and I played games in Dublin. I worked in Dublin, and everyone there was very competitive. We had the Dublin Gamers Guild there. We had Warheads, which just the one he started, and I was kind of part of that. Not an actual Warhead. He likes to claim it. I was never for a Warhead along with them, but I was in their club, in their forums and everything, and they were a great bunch. But as Joe's purpose behind Warheads, they were meant to be very super highly competitive, ruthless and everything. I'm not really that. I'm kind when I'm playing, but I try and play competitively there as well. But it was such a great group of people in Dublin to play games with, and to such a high level. Like, I got my ass kicked 7 ways from Sunday in so many tournaments. I have literally PTSD from playing some players. They've come back in 10th edition. One of them was at the Broadsword tournament, the biggest in Ireland there, in February. And I was like, I don't want to play him. I don't want to play him. Please, I don't want to be. Last time I played with Eldar in 4th ed, and it was just like, was it not Falcons? I can't even remember. The transport vehicles. Can't even remember. They were just flying around the place, and it was just glancing hits and everything. You couldn't kill anything. It was just absolute nightmare to play against. But Mike Tagney as well, if I ever heard his name, gentleman of a player, but he was so good, and he just took me apart. And that kind of group was super high competitive, super wanting to know every little point advantage, every little tactic, everything. And this was judge all. And these guys had it down to like an absolute. Joe, when I would be playing with him, he'd look at the board and goes, "That's exactly 72 inches from where you are," and I just know. And it was like, yeah, that's where I wanted to be. And I like that we can pre-measure everything now, but it's still good looking at things and be able to kind of judge it ahead of time. But yeah, that was the reason for the competitive. It was just, I liked it, and it was immersive there. That's how you wanted to play when you're in the capital, as it were. And that's how I met all the Northern guys, actually, through God rest his soul, John Stowe. He passed away a while ago there. But the Team NI team still represent them by the number of all their shirts as well. He was an absolute gentle player. Loved him. Another Black Temple player as well. But he got me into and took me to join the Team NI group at the time as a mercenary. Enjoy it, and I really did. So I ramble a lot, if you haven't guessed that already.
Yeah, no, we absolutely love it, because it's West speaking for us to do, and we can just think about sandwiches and
Next question.
and Casey can think about his experience of watching Man U getting absolutely pumped in Monday 4-0. He's a big Palace fan, as our bench.
Yeah.
So when you came back up to Donegal, was it your idea to have the Citadel stuff in the computer shop? It's a bit random to have it's like, if you were to go into you would not think that you would find Warhammer stuff in a computer shop. Well, let's be honest, you'd expect it there in maybe a newsagent or a model, like an actual hobby shop, but like an actual PC shop, it's a bit random. Was that your idea, or was that your brother's?
I can claim absolutely nothing about that. As far as I know, and Emmett is free to correct me on this if he's around or if he's in chat or anything. As far as I know, that was Emmett's idea, and that was spur of the moment kind of thing as well. Emmett can clear up the story on that, but literally, as far as that goes, the stars aligned. That was just like, I was coming back, he was looking to start. They got the starter kit in, and I was like, yep, put down for one of every Black Templar thing that's coming out now from 9th edition. And I still do the vast majority of my buying from there. I try and get into the habit of, if I go into any Warhammer store, regardless of where it is, I always get something. So I wouldn't want to say I always buy everything from Porter Computers, but if I can, I will. That's the kind of thing. But yeah, completely random. I have there's no kudos to me that, I just do the social media side of stuff with the Donegal Dice Flingers now, and do the hobby posts and stuff like that. That's the only connection to the shop I have beyond blood. But they've done a great job with it. The group has grown. I think like in Discord we're huge. In regulars and all between the event, we must be at least at 12 or 14 for a little small town in the middle of nowhere. I know Bunkercanna's big enough, but it's still the middle of nowhere. It's great, and we have all the Letterkenny lads in as well. They also buy from the shop too, and they've just done great. Like good prices as well. I don't mean to blag for them, but like they give a discount. You can get it cheaper than W, so you can order in stuff. You can get all the pre-order stuff in there, so it's on the day on release and stuff as well. So
And if you're needing a PC part, when you buy yourself a keyboard or a new mouse, you can buy yourself some no as well.
you can get your Switch covers. You can get your art. You can get your local postcards. You can calendars for his lovely photography, Adam Murray Porter Photography, if anyone's on Instagram. He takes all the shots of the Northern Lights. Absolutely amazing. He's got some eye. I don't know where the artistic talent came from because I have none of it, but my sister and my brother all. I'm good with numbers. They're good with art. Although my sister's a genius when it comes to stuff as well, so it's great.
Maybe it's time they told you that you're adopted.
Most likely, yeah, I would say. Although I look most like my dad, so they can't really. Although I'm the middle child, so they can just push me away from that. It's fine.
Another good thing about yourself is, like when I first came up to Buncrana for my first game, like you're the person that teaches people like the basics and like how to hold a dice and how to roll a dice properly and how to use a measuring tape. Like I must say that must take a lot of patience for like when new people are coming to the club, especially with like myself, because like I think I've been up to I've not been up to Bentrana in months now, but even when the call to chaos, when you were playing your games, I was still asking you questions, and at no point did you go and ask somebody else. So you're always willing to help out. That must be really annoying sometimes, though.
I mean, no, honestly, it's not. Like Emmett does starter games as well, and he teaches people how to play too. Me and Emmett have very different approaches to how we teach people as far as the game it goes. It does not get annoying. Even the questions and stuff like that, because it's always surfacing in your mind, and that's part of the game to me as well, is knowing the rules, knowing other people's armies, how they work, how they function, trying to figure out things. And like even during our teaching game, there are certain things I'll have to go, do you know what, I'm not actually sure, let me find the rule, read it, reread it, and figure out exactly what way it's meant to be played. I've never gotten annoyed teaching someone. I've gotten annoyed playing people, and that's more at the competitive side of things. And that's usually just when you don't get a kind of a mellow approach, or at least a give and take approach rather than just all take kind of thing. But teaching players is actually quite fun. You get to see those initial reactions. You get to see when your dice go to crap and theirs go great, the lovely joy, and then the sadness when the reverse happens. But to speak of the methods of teaching, Emmett is one of these players that is absolutely great if you just want an intro to the game, and I'm going to teach you everything. I'm going to go through every little part, but I'm not going to let you win. I'm going to tell you what I'm doing. I'm going to show you what you can do and what I would probably do, and leave it up to you to decide, but I'm not going to let you win. I actually disagree with letting people win for those things, because it's much more satisfying if you beat me and it was like fair and square. Now, I'm not going to usually play like secondary missions when I'm teaching somebody for the first time in 10th edition, because that's a little bit complex. You can introduce little things. But primary mission games, Combat Patrol is great for it, especially now as well. You can just teach people how to play. And I've taught tons. And to be honest, I do it as part of my job as well when it comes to training and stuff. So it's second nature. I enjoy it. I enjoy imparting some knowledge. And it's even more enjoyable to see the players that I teach be better than me further down the road. Because it's a case of like, oh, that's great to see. And if they don't, and they don't like the game, or they play into something else, Connor, I'm looking at you playing Age of Sigmar. If they go do that, that's fine as well. And 40k is not for everyone. The competitive scene is not for everyone either. I completely understand people that don't want to be super lethal and like hardcore about the game and just want to either paint or have fun or enjoy the lore. You do you. That's it. Like, but I will happily teach absolutely anyone of any level, of any interest, how to play the game. And like I taught my middle daughter how to play, and she trounced the floor with me. And I was not trying to let her win. To be very clear, I was trying to pull everything out of the bag at the end, and she absolutely trounced me. It was a combat patrol. It was Space Marines versus Grey Knights, and she just took me apart. And I was like, cool.
So he actually took a question I was thinking of how have you found out that teaching players. So I'm going to spin the same question on his head. How is it teaching him? Because I can imagine it was quite a bit of work to start off with.
Duncan was very worried in his game, like about like rules and everything, and like what models did what, and should he do this and should he do that. I think it was Typhus. We played the Combat Patrol, I believe it was Typhus, Death Guard, and again against Space Marines. And I don't think Typhus performed as well as he should have. Or the Poxwalkers as well.
I remember him messaging me afterwards. Yeah,
and it's unfortunate when the dice go against you as well, and it happens. The dice game at the end of the day, but teaching Duncan was fine, and he mentioned well in Called Chaos. I was very proud to see Duncan attending the Called Chaos tournament because it was a competitive tournament, and I don't think you'd played more than maybe 5-6 games between that teaching game and that, right, Duncan? Like unless you played them.
I think I played Combat Patrol. I played one game, and then I had one game in Letterkenny. That Call to Chaos emotionally drained me. I was absolutely shattered after that. It was such a long day.
Yeah, three games in a single day is always a bit of a torture, especially for your first. But I genuinely, kudos to Duncan. After going for an intro game, 2 maybe proper games, and then going straight to 2,000 points in a tournament. Yeah. That's impressive. I did not do that when I started. We didn't have the players to do that. I think my first competitive game was like maybe 5-6 years afterwards I'd started. So yeah, not even remotely as good as you, Duncan, when it came to that. And like you didn't come last. Tag came. So, yeah. There we go.
I think in the third game, I was starting to get a feel for the rules and what specific units could do. It took me until the last game to realise that Typhus could actually shoot because he's got a stupid Latin gun. I didn't know that he could shoot. I also found out after the first game that Mortarion just shouldn't be charging up the middle because he get absolutely ganked off of some custodies. He get like pure gangbanged off like about 4 vehicles. Right, so I did learn a lot, and by the third game, I learned more about my own guys by reading the data cards. Going, I didn't know he could shoot. Like Typhus was getting wiped out in the first 2 games because he didn't shoot his gun.
And like that's the great thing about the competitive games is you learn, you take something from everything, and you still make mistakes. I played Templars in 9th edition in a competitive tournament, and I went into it and I was like, I know exactly what I'm doing. I know what all my units do. And first game out the door, first charge with an entire 20-man brick, I forgot I had reroll the hits. I forgot I had +1 to wound. I forgot I had feel no pain. I was like, and lost like half the unit. I was like, wait, oh damn, I had all. That was terrible, and that was a terrible mistake. But learning from each game, as long as you take the best out come from it. And for anyone ever interested in the competitive side of things, do to speed up your game, which is the killer. Learn it. Exactly as I'm pointing out, you'll learn more before having to learn. Strategy comes from just practice and playing. Learning the data cards speeds up your game. So when you know that Space Marines are usually very easy, it's like some other armies are a wee bit more varied between them, so take a bit more. But once you everything. So anyone that is interested competitively, learn stick to the same, keep playing those, modify your list over time, but don't worry about that at the start. Just try and get into the flow of learning your units, and the strategy comes after that as well.
Yeah, I'll need to get back up to Pentrana a night and get another game. I don't think I've actually played since the Call to Chaos, to be honest. Sorry, Casey.
You can have it
drain you that much.
All right. You're still painted. It's fine.
Yeah, keep your toe in the water. That's enough, isn't it? I'm currently going at the moment, and I think this sort of appeals to sort of that teaching side that you were mentioning. That it's good to go away knowing that someone's picked something up. a mate of mine and myself are currently trying to figure out Middle Earth and all the Lord of the Rings games and stuff. And we're sort of approaching it in a method of, like you said, that you don't need to cover off everything. So, like, we're not doing maybe advanced rules, something about courage and something about heroic actions and stuff. We're just sticking to the core game. Would you say that that is the best way to approach it when you're trying to learn something or teach someone? Just, I always remember as an intro game that I had when I first got into it, it was just a case of this is how you move, this is how you shoot, this is how you do combat. Done. Next turn.
Yeah, so that's the way Emma teaches as well. Just like run at each other, shoot and move and learn all the just the basics. So it's a good way to get that initial intro of how a game works as far as the models go. And then the cool thing about most game systems, and I haven't started Middle Earth myself yet, I have a mortar army that I'm in progress of painting, and all the lads in the Discord have played a few games now as well. I think there's a good few from Letterkenny and Buncrana, must be at least 8 or 9 now. But learning those basic core mechanics is great, and then just introduce little bits each time. So 9th and 10th got very easy, where it's like, first game, play without stratagems. Just play the game, run at each other. Don't worry even about objectives. Just try and use cover and shoot each other and see how all those interactions work. Next game, introduce objectives. There you go. So if you're on this objective at the start of your turn, think a turn ahead. So that gets you that next part. Then introduce stratagems. So now these are key things that you can do while you're playing or while your opponent's turn is going to react to them to change the game a little bit more. And then introduce secondary objectives. So that's now fixed and tactical in 10th edition. There's lots of little things you can kind of introduce as you go. But definitely, that's why Combat Patrol is definitely great, because it has a little bit and it's very simple to just play that very, very small map for it as well. So like they've done absolutely great by introducing that game type. I still do like teaching people with just like a few models as well and just like kind of running each other. Because not everyone always has a Combat Patrol, but again, if anyone's visiting in the Donegal area, Buncrana or Letterkenny, I think there's always somebody with a spare army or spare Combat Patrol. I know I've got enough Templars to fleet 10 of us if you want to, but Emmett in the shop has every Age of Sigmar little army, all the kill teams from Kill Team 1, that works in Kill Team 2 now as well, all the Combat Patrols for, I think, Space Marines, Orcs, Tyranids, and a few others. So there's more to them, and you'll always find that in every shop. So I'm not just calling out areas. If you've got a local gaming shop, independent or Games Workshop, they'll all have that you play with. So even if you're looking at a hobby and you're like, you know, I really Combat Patrol. I was a student once. I was a young kid once. Disposable income, New York, always someone there allow you an intro into the game without having to actually drop any money into it as well. So look out for that. Your local clubs will always have it. If you're in the Mayo area, you've got Broadsword. If you're in Dublin, you're flying. There's so many people there that you can play with. And if you're up our way, there's Buncrana and Letterkenny obviously as well. And I'm sure it's even better in England. The amount of clubs in England must be like ridiculous compared. Yeah.
So I thought you were going to say something there, Pench. So just going to move slightly away from the hobby. So you say you've got your kids into it. Is your wife into it as well, or is it just the kids?
I wish the kids were into it. I said I've taught my middle one and they've painted models. The youngest one has not had any interaction with it whatsoever yet. But she's a bit young, so I'm kind of, I'll say that now, she's 9, so getting old. I probably should let her like paint models or have a little read through stuff as well. The wife has painted some Sisters of Battle. So these, I think, not the Seraphim Squad, just the Battle Sister Squad, but not all of it. And she's painted one Ultramarine Assault Marine as well, way back. She does not play, so I'm not I'm not even going to claim that she's played or she wants to play. She does like the look of some of the armies, but I think rolling dice and playing that type of game would be the last thing she wants to do. She loves board games, loves quiz games and stuff like that, but I think the miniature games might be the last thing. I say that. You never know. I might change her mind at some point. There might be a birthday in the future where she's run out of ideas what to get me and go, do you know what you can do? You can start playing Warhammer. There you go.
And at what point in your relationship this is a question I like to ask people now. At what point in your relationship did you confess that you had a plastic crack addiction to your now wife?
So I'm going to throw not politics or religion into this, but I've been married twice for reference. So my kids are from my previous marriage and my current wife. My first wife never introduced to Warhammer or anything like that. But she, I had all the Warhammer with me, so she knew it was there. My current wife implores me that I never mentioned it, and it just appeared one day when we were in Donegal. And I called contest on that because I have an Instagram post when I was painting in the end of 8th edition, I think it was, where I was trying to paint some models that I had, the Gene Speeders, and I have an Instagram. I'm almost sure we had started dating at that point, and I'm like, almost sure. She said, you knew about this, but she claims that 100% didn't know about it, and definitely she wasn't very happy with a lot of the trips and stuff for tournaments and stuff. However, she got her own in January, where I went to LVO in Vegas, and she got to come along with me, and she was like, Warhammer, finally paying off. It's great. So when I slip in the occasional tournament now at the weekend, and I'm like, oh, I'm flying to Poland in July to play team games, she's fine with it, I hope.
Now, this is the part of the transition where we like to ask the kind of non-topic related questions as well. So, obviously, in Ireland, the big choice of crisps is Tato or Kings, or Northern Tatoes or Southern Tatoes. What type of crisp? What would be your favourite flavour of crisps?
So I'm a connoisseur of the Tato for sure, because my mum was from the north and we were up there every other week essentially. But the better Tato is still the Southern Tato. It is for flavour, but it's not the best crisp. It's good. It's not the best crisp. The best crisp to date and will always be McCoy's. McCoy's are the best flavour, best crunch, best in a sandwich. So I won't say no to a Tato sandwich, but McCoy's are by far the best crisp.
That's fair. That's fair.
Any specific flavour of McCoy's?
Anything but ready salted ones. So basically, the salt and vinegar are lovely, cheese and onion are lovely. Not barbecue. What are they? Are they even steak? I can't even remember now. The brown packet. They're all good. So yeah, 3 core flavors.
And would you be a football special man? Because that seems to be a pure Irish. It's like a Scottish iron brew. I hate it. It tastes rank.
Oh,
but
you take that back. It's one of the best drinks. The kids love it. All the flavors you can get for it, absolutely great. And you can get it in loads of shops. By the way, if you're not in Donegal, you can still get it. Even if you're in New York, you can get Football Special. Look up their site. You can find the local shop for you. Football Special is lovely. And there was a bit of a rumor in the office when I was starting out with a job down in Dublin that I was spreading basically fertility through people by giving them Football Special from Donegal, because I had 3 kids essentially, and they were like, the hell's going on? Don't go near your porter, like you'll end up pregnant, kind of thing. Not in that way. So it was like through the Football Special handing out bottles to people. So it was like, so we're like, no, that must have the pregnancy hormone or something. But yeah, no, Football Special is lovely. Like, honestly, I don't know how you don't like it, Duncan. That's great. It's delicious. They've got ice creams. They even have beer now, which I kind of disagree with, because it was originally designed to be a replacement for beer that was in the cup for the Donegal GA, I think it was, for the younger ones, so they weren't drinking beer or whiskey out of the cup. So they have a beer now, they have ice cream, which is actually all right. The original is still the best. There's banana and ice cream and everything, or ice cream soda, but definitely the original is still the best one. I don't know, I don't think you've ever had it, Colin, have you? Or thanks.
No, I'll be honest, it's something I've brought up in the past before when we've had Irish guests on, that my family are originally a mix of Dublin and County Mayo. So I can't remember Football Special. I'll be honest, it's been a long time since I was over. There's certain things that I definitely remember, and like Dunk, bless him, Dunk sent me a care package of golden and mint crisps a little while ago, which I demolished in like moments. But Yeah, no, Football Special is a new one to me. I will have to research that.
It's very good, honestly, and it's actually great with Jaeger bombs as well.
Oh well, what do you call that? No, I'm not going to make a joke about football and bombs. It's not the right string. Um, there was a question in the chat, and staying off topic of bits and bobs. Our friend of the show, Rich, and occasional host, has asked, "Did you finish your arcade box? And what are the posters behind you?" Now, I know one of them's Boba Fett, but I don't know what the other two are.
There's actually 2 Boba Fetts in there, but actually no, it's 3 Boba Fetts technically.
Oh, there you go. My eyes need checking.
I have more over here as well. So the arcade box, the box itself was the first present my wife ever got me, and that was a very like out of the park. She blew that one out of the park. That was amazing. I reformatted it a couple of times and put different games and everything on it as well. I built the little cabinet kind of up so that it would be elevated because it was kind of dragging it around and everything. It has a permanent home in the living room at the moment, but we're still living in a bungalow that we actually only recently bought that we'll be renovating, fingers crossed, in July or August. And at that point, if I get my garage, which is still up in the air, it'll go out there in the hobby space, and it'll have a fixed location that will be more accessible than what it is right now between the bookshelf that the wife owns and the kids' dollhouse. So it doesn't get used as just because of, I would love to just say it's just where it is. It's just more getting into the time of playing the games and all. Like everyone, I procrastinate way too much. But yeah, it got completed. And what was the other question? Sorry, I completely forgot.
It's the posters, which you've clarified all 3 Boba Fetts.
It's an art one that was signed by a dude that did the poster. It's another one that I like the look of because I'm a big Boba Fett fan. And the one over the far side is the stills from the movie that are signed by him. It's just a Comic-Con buy, but I love Boba Fett, so it was just kind of one of those things. Favorite Star Wars character, obviously, from there.
Yeah, that's easy to say. I think it was definitely mine for a long time, so I appreciate those. Just on the arcade cabinet for a bit longer, I've got mates that have dabbled with trying to build one, have never done it, but their dream was to always go and get like loads of fighting games on it. That was their jam. What's your thing on the arcade cabinet? What is your go-to game all the time?
So there's 2. I grew up with Mortal Kombat. So Mortal Kombat was my favorite, and 1 is still my favorite. I do like the others, but 1 was always my favorite. So I do enjoy playing that. It's been a while, for sure. The other one is one that I doubt anyone knows because I didn't know the name of it myself for a long time. We have a small club just literally across the road where I went to. This is my family home actually that we bought. This is where I grew up and was. But across the road, there's a little orange school, it was called. It's painted blue now, so it doesn't make any more sense. But it's a football club. Used to have a little youth club and all in it as well. And they had all these old arcade machines. So they had like Double Dragon, they had Pac-Man, they had Space Invaders, like really old stuff when it was still old when I was young as well, kind of thing. One that I could not remember the name for years, but I finally found it. Thankfully, Reddit's name this game always helps. It's Hippodrome. So it was this kind of like a beat 'em up game. So it was just like a very small screen. You move side to side, fighting enemies, and you got to choose who you were fighting against. So these a couple of bad guys. There was a skeleton. There was a Medusa kind of character. There was like these twin assassins and stuff. Every time you beat one, you got some credits for depending on how much you beat them by without losing health, and you got to buy upgrades. And over in the club, when you're putting in coins, it was an absolute monster through coins. You could go through your entire allowance easily within like half an hour, if not less. And I finally found the name of it when Reddit helped me. I downloaded it and played it. I got my ass kicked in every one for a while, and I kept playing it and I loved it. The great thing about it was you could get to the end once you knew how to play. So after a couple of months of playing it in the club, you could come in and do it with 1 coin, and everyone would be like, "How the hell did you do this?" Or that. So when I find that's still a guilty pleasure, I'll definitely go back and play. I got a Steam Deck a while back, and that has definitely taken over the arcade side of things for me. Very easy to pick up, play if you're flying or traveling or anything like that. It's very handy to have it then and there. But definitely the arcade machine is going to have a home when the home is finally built off as well, and it will get a little bit more usage. The kids love it. The kids love Simpsons games and Turtle games on it, I'm sure, and Metal Slug and all those ones, all those side scrollers, because they love it because you can play, unlike when we used to play it in the arcades, when you can play and just tap up coins forever and ever and ever. Whereas you would go through an alliance trying to play Metal Slug or something. But yeah, absolutely love those two games. And Mortal Kombat is definitely one I would love to have a showdown with anyone that will give me the time of day. But I grew up with Street Fighter, so that was my brother's favorite, and that's what I would have played against him a lot. But Mortal Kombat was easily my favorite beat 'em up game in there.
Yeah.
I was going to say,
Like,
sorry, go on, Tom.
Mortal Kombat for me, and like a game that I loved playing when I was younger, especially on the Super Nintendo, was Cannon Fodder and Jungle or Desert Strike. They were perfect games.
That's a taste opinion right there, by the way. Jungle or Desert, which was your favorite?
I think it would have to be Jungle Strike because you always crashed into the trees, which just made it even harder for me.
Urban Strike. Come on, you're missing the perfect one. Urban Strike.
Urban Strike was great. Which one had the hovercraft? The first one, and I think it was Urban as well. Actually, I had the first hovercraft. If you get into it, I loved all those games. They were just good fun. Especially like I think I had Urban Strike was either on the Sega or the Amiga or something like that. I remember playing it on, and not with coins, which was great.
Especially Cannon Fodder, because if you get somebody promoted all the way to Colonel and they died, you felt that pain.
That's where kids like this makes me sound and feel old. This is where kids these days don't understand the pain of arcade games, where especially with like a Raspberry Pi or arcade box or whatever you're playing on, where you've got instant state saves. You're like, okay, I can save the state exactly where it was. And obviously, most modern games you have your infinite amount of saves unless you're doing like Iron Man or whatever on it, so you can do that. But the pain of actually losing people. If you play the new XCOM or even the old XCOM games, losing your people on them, oh my god, you name every one of those games, name your players. Like if you can set the name yourself, do it. You'll have them more personal connection, and it will hurt more when they die.
It's like darkest dungeons like that, where like I name everybody. So Casey's died like 5 times in my darkest dungeon. You always end up being like the thief guy, the one that can do the. He's got the pistol. He always dies relatively quickly. I went through about five cases.
It's good. Like it's good to have that emotional attachment in the game sometimes as well. I can't remember who told me about that doing it. It was Sammy from the Letterkenny guys who kept naming people, and it was like they keep doing better, and then they die, and I feel so sad.
It's something I think, like you say, the kids nowadays don't appreciate because I've got a Switch and the online membership on that, you get all the old stuff. And just the fact that you can create a load point in a game just as like a save point, and they know if they mess up, they can just go back and they can go back and they can go back. Whereas I don't know if you guys ever played Mario 3 on the NES. There was a water level, and there was this big bastard fish, and if you didn't time your jump right, the fish would eat you. You didn't shrink down to size, it'd just eat you and fuck off. And that used to infuriate me when I was a child, and I would just turn the NES off and walk away. But he creates a load point, so if the fish eats him, he's like, ha ha ha, it doesn't matter, fish. And it's like, no, you're cheating, you can't do that. But I think you're right. I think it's just new generations, old generations, and everything in between, isn't it? Right.
Need save states to get through them all these days. Like I don't know about anyone else, but Steam backlogs and everything. If you didn't have save states and you were repeating every level, you'd never get to the next game either. So
it was always the thing that if you could complete, what was it, Ghouls and Ghosts twice in a row, you get the actual ending. It's like, how is that? How are you going to tell a kid to do that nowadays? But like, no, I'm not doing that.
Yeah, the amount of discussions I've had with my son Luke, like I asked him how many games have you completed in the last year, and I think he's completed like 1 game. He'll play it for like the maximum amount of time you can play it on Steam for before you can refund it for free. So how's that even playing the game? You know what? If I like it, I'll keep it. Mind you, he has downloaded Red Dead Redemption about 1,000 times. But we've got a wee thing in chat here. People are asking. Warpate is asking. So, Alter Beast, Final Fantasy, or Golden Axe? And Inferno
Quite
Miniature
a
is
mix.
saying Streets of Rage, where you could change the ending by joining the bad guys. These are all classic games, man.
Yeah, I was Streets of Rage 3 because I've replayed them all recently. I was an absolute Streets of Rage was my jam. I used to love that game, and I even downloaded the new one on the Xbox just because I'm an absolute monster for them. Altered Beast used to annoy me though, because it was all well and good that you could transform into a giant monster, but you were always just so slow. It's just slowest game I ever played.
Alter Beast's not ringing a bell with me at all, actually. I'm trying to think if I'm missing a game.
It was a Mega Drive game, and it was one of those really late 80s tenuous things where like some necromancer's stolen some dude's daughter, so this dude resurrects you from the dead, and then you have to go fight the guy that's kidnapped save the girl basically. But through the levels you just turn into different monsters like a werewolf or a bear, or I swear one of them was a camel at some point or something dumb. It was ridiculous. But yeah, you Google it. It's horrible. It's one of the worst games ever.
Google now. I've got the Matrix. What was it again? The line from Smith. So I've got to Google that now and go back and watch it. And then
Telling you, he says Mr. Reagan. He goes, "Of course, Mr. Reagan." When he's eating the steak, telling you when he meets him.
If you're wrong, Duncan, you're not going to hear the end of it.
So it says in your bio, Shane, that you've watched Fight Club 127 times.
It's longer than that. It said it's 107, but that's actually wrong as well because I haven't updated it in a while. It is true, and anyone that knows me will know it's true because of the amount I quote the lines. But yeah, I don't know if this is a thing for everyone. I have comfort films. That's definitely one of them. I have comfort TV series as well, which I will happily rewatch over and over and over and over again before I will even start a new thing. Procrastination as a whole there. But Fight Club is one of those ones that has absolutely resounded with me since the first I ever saw it. My only downside to that is I've never gotten to see it in an actual cinema. So like my first time seeing it was on DVD and TV times, and I bought the special edition and all. I bought it on multiple digital platforms before Netflix and everything became a thing as well. And just, yeah, love the movie, love the soundtrack. Dust Brothers, yeah, absolutely amazing. Pixies Day, really great. And it's better than one of those few, I think, that are better movies that are better than the book. And the author said that himself as well. So I agree with him.
I think,
Yeah,
I think Chuck Palahniuk said, and when he watched the film, that when they added Lou's bar was absolutely, he says that was an absolutely brilliant bit that they made up, and it's definitely a Fincher film. I'm a massive Fight Club fan as well. So we might have to do, next time I see him, we might have to do a fucking Fight Club off.
Oh yeah, no, it doesn't hurt that I'm a massive Brad Pitt fan as well. So I'll watch literally any of these. But yeah, Edward Norton as well, like peak Meatloaf, Sarah, why do I always forget her name? Michelle, I'm always getting her. Bonham Carter.
Never caught it. Yeah.
Every, just, yeah, absolute star cast in there as well. And what your Jared Leto, isn't it, from 30 Seconds to Mars? So, just, yeah, there's such a good film. And I watched it that many times, so I think I'm up to like the 160 mark now as well. I need to go back and look at my like Plex watch count essentially. But I think I'm up to like 160, 161 maybe at this point. That doesn't include watching it for the soundtrack. So I do watch it for the soundtrack. And I don't mean I listen to the soundtrack. I've done that too, but I will literally put it on sometimes just to hear the soundtrack at certain key moments in it because it sits so well as well.
Have you listened to the director's commentary though? How many times have you listened to the director's commentary?
Not as many as you think because I like the movie so much. But yes, I've listened to the various parts, going through the chemical burn scene and all as well as one of probably the best parts in there. So yeah, it's worth it, but it's one of those ones where you don't need the director commentary, I believe. I think it's kind of everything stands on its own. It's great to see that insight from it, but it's not something you would need to add. Or
the bit I like the director's commentary is when obviously you have like Brad Pitt and Edward Norton in, but the small amount of times that Helena Bonham Carter's in, she said that when they were doing the bit in Marla's apartment, she sent out her PA to go and get dildos. for that scene, and she says the general came back with like a bag full of dildos. Right, folks, I'm getting my 25-second countdown. So what we're going to do here is we're going to pause. I'm going to save this, post it, and then we'll restart because Instagram has limited me to 1 hour videos because I've said some naughty things in
You
previous
talking about
streams.
dildos? That's what it was.
Yeah. So we'll reconvene in about 1 minute once I post this up. Unless you wanted to do it, Penge, and I can post it up so it's not. And we're back for part 2 of the Inquisition with Shane and Casey. Part 1's uploaded on my story. Definitely going to try and get this working on YouTube for next week. Thanks if you come back, folks. Thanks very much for coming back. Hope you've been enjoying it so far. I'll send you an invite now, Shane. Thanks for coming back, man. Much appreciate that.
It works anyway. So.
Yeah, it works. I think maybe Casey just maybe needs to update the app on his side. Because I seem to add you quite quickly, quite well here.
It's like when you send the invite, I see your stream quality all drops, and then after a second or two, it shows up and it works. But even in Casey's one, he had invited me, joined. If I hit request, it would say not sent. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
So
that's what was happening when we first started this earlier on today. Then I had to uninstall the app and reinstall it. See, I don't know what's going on, like, but the sooner we can go onto YouTube, the better, to be honest. But I see Penge now. Accept. Aye, so where were we? Fight Club, Marwa Singer. Oh, it was all basically went all downhill when Marwa came into his world.
I'm here as myself rather than Inquisition, so there we go. Yeah, sorry about that. I don't know what happens. I think I might need to reinstall and install again. It's just a bit of a pig. So when we left off, Dunk was talking about dildos.
Yeah.
And
so, yeah, big bag of dildos.
Big bag of dildos.
Yeah. So, and I think it was the one that she nudged when she goes, "Oh, that's not any danger to you." That's the one that was finally used.
You know what? I wanted to jump into that Fight Club because I know you said that you've read the book and watched the film. Weirdly, I preferred the book. I do love the film, but for me, the book elicits emotions out of me which the film doesn't. And it's weirdly a weird thing to say that reading that, the more and more I read it, I just started getting angry. Like, I don't quite know why, and I think that's what he wanted to sort of perceive. And a lot of the monologues of Tyler Durden of like, "You're not this, you're not that, fight this, do." But yeah, that's just my own personal stuff. And also Chuck Palahniuk as an author, I've read loads of his stuff, and it's all messed up, and I just enjoy his work.
Especially Choke. Have you seen Choke? That is one messed up film and book.
I've read it, I haven't seen it.
Yeah, it could be as well though. Like I would have read the book at a lot younger age, so I'm probably like early 20s kind of thing. Obviously seen the movie right throughout. I read the book after I saw the movie as well, so that could be the order thing. Maybe it deserves another read. Like, to be perfectly honest, anyone that hasn't read it, I would still recommend. Like, it's fairly short as far as a book goes. Like, if you're talking about even comparison to the Horus Heresy novels and all, you're not in for like a lot of content there. But for me, the visual of the movie went way beyond for me. And again, Brad Pitt fan, so I can't say up to it. Like,
I mean, we've all dreamed about being Brad Pitt wearing a pair of rubber gloves with that six pack. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
So, just go back to Space Marines and Horus Heresy, right? Now, it is a bit of a talking point, and it's something I like to bring up to wind people up. Well, how do you feel about the whole female custodies thing, personally? Me and Casey, we really don't care. I just troll people. I'm not going to buy custodies. Like, I've read the Horus Heresy books, and I'm into the lore. But to be fair, as a Star Wars fan, first and foremost, it's not that precious to me, because like Star Wars lore's been wiped out, and we're now starting to we forget about when the Star Wars lore was like put into Legends. How do you feel about the Custodies thing?
It doesn't bother me. Like, I think I'm one of these people like involved in those conversations when people like start arguing that's a terrible decision and all, and I will not get wound up, but I'll definitely get involved in the conversation and throw everything as far as I can at them, logically wise. But I would always look at something like that and goes, does it literally change anything for me? No. Okay. Does it give benefit to literally anyone else at all, even by the tiniest amount? Like maybe, I don't know if you saw the discussion in our Discord, maybe my daughter, one of my daughters will come along in the future and go, do you know what, I would love to play Custodies, but there's no real female models in there that I want. Oh, there is one. Cool. Then I definitely want to play that. Maybe that's an incentive for some girl or boy to want to pick up that army or want to even get involved. Maybe they read a book with a female character later on. They're like, wow, that really inspires me to take up the game or do something different or take up a hobby or like something like that. It's not hurting anyone, honestly. Most of the arguments over it are just like, grrr, for no reason. It's breaking lore. It's science fiction. it's fantasy science fiction set like so far in the future where everything has gone wrong. This makes no difference whatsoever. Personally, I would get more annoyed if they introduced a model in the game that had a stat line that broke the game. That would be my annoyance, to be like, this is broken the meta. That's where I would be like, why, GW, have you done this? Gender means absolutely nothing there whatsoever. So, like, yeah, you like, if Custodes tomorrow comes out and wants to identify as another gender, it wouldn't bother me either. It makes no difference. It's you do you. You're
I was
having
actually going to jump in and say, as you are more of a gamer than actually, like I know you say you've been in it since like third, fourth, and in and out, in and out. Was the lore really that precious to you if you just prefer rolling the dice at the end of the day?
I like lore aspects. So like what was it Luton on YouTube? I would watch a lot of stuff for that, and I like binge watching that kind of stuff for the lore. I've read a lot of the books as well. A very big fan of one of the very first books I read was the Adeptus Arbites trilogy. Why do I always forget her name? Starts with a C. It was basically a female Arbites detective. It kicked ass. I wish it was audiobook, but it's not. It kicked ass. I do like the lore aspects. I do like reading into those things. Definitely looking forward to anything that comes out by Cavill. Absolutely will eat that up. But it's definitely not something that I would be like, I'm a historian on the lore. I know enough for my factions, for the other factions. I buy the audiobooks every so often now to read. I love the Gaunt's Ghosts, read all of them, absolutely loved all of them. Just finished The Infinite and the Divine the other day. It's the Necrons one. Great. If you like any Warhammer or you just want an intro, humorous as hell, but loads of lore and everything, and just greatness in there, and great voice acting as well. But I've just started, because this is probably, I shouldn't probably admit this, I have never read any of the Eisenhorn books, but I picked up the first audiobook for Xenos, and I've been listening to it, and yeah, it's as good as everyone can say. It's just like, yeah, okay, I get this. But I was a big Gaunt's Ghost person, so yeah. So yeah, long answer to that. I do like the lore, but I wouldn't claim that I know absolutely every part of it. Probably most of the Templar stuff, just because that's what I was mostly interested in. A good bit of the Tyranid stuff as well, but beyond just knowing the details of the Horus Heresy and what I've read about, I have a good memory recall for that, so it's handy. But yeah, that's all I would know is what I've read. I wouldn't have gone too deep into things. And like changing established stuff and retconning, it's not new. Like,
No.
if we're there for the original Necrons, all of that has been retconned. So why would you get annoyed about a single character being introduced into a new army?
Yeah, they've changed how the Catan work. I don't like 3 or 4 times already, haven't they? So, end of the day, it's not that big a deal.
Yeah, and that's like, to me, it's a game of dice at the end of the day. That's the way I look at it. It's fun, it's social, it gets me interacting, it gets the competitive juices running, as it were, as well. And it's good to kind of theory craft about lists and how to play and all for me. And it's good to listen to lore, read lore and all, and then wait for TV series. But to me, at the end of the day, it's a game of dice. So the stuff that changes dice output, that would annoy me if it's like unbalanced. And that's, I think GW have done great in 10th with that regard. They're getting to a really fine meta balance. There's still some powerful armies and lists and all, but there's always a bigger fish waiting, which is what I want in Warhammer. You don't want one list that beats everything. You want one list that probably does really well, is really solid, and if you've got a good player behind it's going to absolutely kick ass. But you always want that one list out there that they do not want to face. They're like, this is going to take me apart. And that's, I think 10th has found that balance recently as well. Obviously, when you get to the top levels of competitive, which I'm nowhere near, it's a whole other ball game with tactics and all. It's like some people are just the masters with lists and all. But I still like the advent of, in all other things being equal, your list can still get absolutely hard countered by something else. So
I'm going to ask you a question on tabletop, but just before I do that, my take on the whole gender thing is kind of similar to yours, Shane, where it's like, if it encourages like my granddaughter or somebody to make up their own like lore about custodians, or even for them to start writing books, then for me, we don't really care. I mean, I started saying it initially as a joke a year ago, and then I said, "Oh, just wait. If you think female custodians are going to be bad, wait till the two lost primates are going to be turned out. They're going to be Big E's daughters." But on the tabletop thing, you were at LVO, and you're saying like the top tier players and all that. Now, that Necron player who won with putting his monolith in the backfield or whatever, and all I seen, I didn't understand anything about that, right? But all I seen was comments of people going, "Oh, how did they leave his back door or whatever it was open? How could they make such a mistake?" Is that just like good strategy on the player's part, or was it an error on his opponent's part?
I never watched the entirety of the last game. I know what you're talking about, though, and I can explain the whole block and outside of things. So some people are very good at screening, is what it's called. Like your most armies, you can't come down within 9 inches. Some units will stop you coming outside of 12 inches. The 12-inch ones are more important because you cannot charge in those situations, which is a big thing. Most deep striking units are going to be there for charging or some like over oppressive firepower. Coming in 9 inches, 9-inch charge is not statistically great, to be honest. With a reroll, yeah, okay, or with +1 to charge or whatever. Some armies it's better, but you don't want to be relying on 9-inch charges. But for that guy, I think it was a monolith, and he rolled up the saves as well. Didn't matter if it was a charge or not; it was just coming down. Some armies give you powers come down within 3 as well. They're very hard to screen out, but people still are able to do it. So playing Grey Knights at the moment, I care a lot about people screening because you lift 3 units at the end of every opponent's turn and you drop them down again, which is hilarious. And basically, you're on the other side of the board or the other side of the board every other turn. It's great. But the screening side of things, it's just literally preparation because you can pre-measure everything. You can move a unit and you'd be like, okay, 9 inches away from everything, you can't come down in here, and you can be very tactical. When you start losing units and when you're in the heat of the game and you're on the clock in those games as well, you have 3 hours to play that game. So that's what you're going through for setup and everything as well between the 2 players. So when you're down to like those last few minutes, once you run out of time, you're only allowed to roll saving throws. You're not allowed to move. You're not allowed to shoot. You're not allowed to even react. So it's just that you're rolling saving throws. That's it. You can score points, but you can't do anything else other than save. So the pressure can get to you there. And you might be leaving stuff out, and that might have been it. You might have just left a gap. He might have underestimated how good Necrons were as far as the hyper crypt one with moving around the board like Grey Knights do as well. Really, just you don't know what might have been going through their head at the time. It might have been a slip up. It might have been intentional because, again, the dude rolled double 6s to saves. That could have gone entirely the other way. The other could have lifted him. So it could have been a big risky move by the Necron player, and that could have gone wrong for him as well. So it's like a lot of factors in there. I think that for that game, the Necron player had to do that. They had no choice. That was win, or if they didn't do it, they lost. So they had to do it. And then it came down to the other players, just their dice rolls and their tactics at the end of it. So yeah, it happened. Like I said, the first game in 9th was Templars, where I forgot all the special rules for that big chunky unit, and I'm like, that was stupid. I just lost that unit for no reason in turn 1. Yeah, that happens. It's the pressure of the game will get to you, as Tag has said there in the chat too.
Yeah.
It
That was I was actually going to follow on with what Tagged had said in the chat there, that how important do you feel as it is as a competitive player, it doesn't matter whether what level you are, that you are actually talking to your opponent, that you're not in your own headspace, like, I want to fuck you up, that you're actually having conversations with them and saying, you sure you want to do that? Because I can do this. I know it's sort of, you're sort of giving them a little bit of advantage, but do you feel like a level playing field if someone is uncertain of certain rules or someone might have forgotten something? It's just better to just give them a little nudge out.
So
like game courtesy.
there's a big phrase that's being used since probably 9th edition especially, and 10th definitely, is play by intent. So everything you do, you're declaring. So if you're like, look, my intent here is to have this unit behind this ruins so that right now where all your units are, you cannot see me. Or even if you move the entire max distance here with an assault weapon, you cannot see. And there's agreements between players like that. Or, okay, I've moved within range. This is a 6-inch charge. You want to check that. That's my intent for charging potentially. I don't necessarily am going to do it, but that's my intent to go that way. Or intent even for like, I've screened out this area. Do you want to double check? I like playing like that. And most players do. And it removes the I nudged my model away or anything like that, or I didn't mean to place that unit there kind of thing. If you're always playing by this, what I'm doing is what I'm intending, there's no gotchas, there's no surprises, and it literally just comes down to the dice and the better tactician as far as movement and everything as well. Because even when you reveal everything and you warn people, Grey Knights have one where if you move within 9 inches, I get to lift a unit for 1 CP, put them back into reserve, or move them 6 inches. And that's huge because I could be sitting in the front of an objective. So I could be like here on the objective, another unit's 9 inches away, and they've got charge range, and they moved within 9, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to move 6 inches away. I'm now 15 inches. You can no longer charge me. I'm still on the objective, and now you have no way to get onto that to take me off it. So that's, even though all intent has been declared there, they can't physically do it. So all that tactics comes into it. And I'm still rusty on that. Like, I'm still learning Grey Knights, but there's a lot of like little quirks and all you can do. Anyone that plays where they're like, haha, I draw my trap card stratagem and outdo you that way by surprise, in my opinion, is not a good player and is not playing the game by its true intent, especially the way 10th edition is loaded up now. You should always be explaining exactly what your army does. Whether your opponent takes it in or not is up to them, but you should be explaining exactly what your army does to them at the start, what your stratagems do, which ones to watch out for, and in some cases, which ones they can vect if they've got like a Calidus assassin to make it more expensive. But just explaining your army to your opponent to your best ability, not leaving anything out. And if you do, correct and just say here. And then instructing them throughout the game what you're doing. If you do the same, you'll get a great game. You're not worrying then about like, what am I not expecting here? And that was a big problem in 9th because, to be perfectly honest, if you explained every stratagem in 9th, you'd be there for 4 hours just explaining because there were so many. Which 10th has really refined that down, and it's gotten, it's a good game. I'm not going to say perfect. There are things that could change, but playing by intent is the greatest way you can play 40k, and it has the most fun, the most competitive nature of it as well, and it makes the game better. Just removes that dickish behavior that used to be there in old editions. So
yeah, it's actually funny that you say dickish behavior in old editions, because I remember playing games of 3rd and 4th where it was everyone just took for granted you knew what everything did. And when you're a new player and you're playing your first couple of games and your opponent isn't explaining anything to you and just walking you off the table, or you're playing a game where there's objectives and they're fulfilling them, but you're not, and you don't quite understand why, it can really sort of spoil not just the enjoyment of it, but it just it doesn't make you want to come back to it.
Yeah.
And
it will kill somebody's hobby that way. Like, if your intent is just to win every training game that you do, like, I'm not going to let you win, but I'm not going to go like hardcore to the wall and absolutely punish you on every mistake. If you're like, oh, I forgot to move this unit in the shooting phase, that's fine. Go back and move it. It's not going to change anything, and you learn from it as well. So just go and do it. I'm not in the business of ruining people's games when they come into this. Dice suck in games, sure, but that's not my control. I can't do anything with that. But teaching people and advising them is such a better way. And old editions were terrible for that. I was lucky. I met some great competitive players that would happily talk at length about the game and just explain every aspect of it and what the army did and why they beat you and how they outsmarted you and stuff like that, so that you would learn. And I was very, very lucky for that. And the community has grown massively in probably from 8th edition, from what I heard about 8th, 9th, and 10th edition onwards. And what I loved with moving home and COVID and everything that was going on as well is just yourselves are credit to this as well, growing the digital space of it. Like, my God, if I had all these YouTube channels and everything when I was starting, I wouldn't have Tyranid models painted like the ones in front of me. And it'd be so much better at the game than I am right now as well. There's just so much out there, so much content, so much good content, from whether it's a small streamer all the way up to like the big ones like Peachy and all as well. Like, they're all great. Like I found some absolutely class little YouTube tutorial channels. I'm like, I love this. Found one for my Bone Reapers painting, and I'm like, I'm never ever leaving this channel. I'm going to keep watching all these videos here because there's so many little cool tips and tricks for it. So yeah, just the whole community as a whole, digitally, influencers, the game, GW even, they've grown so much. It really feels like it's matured, but gotten more accessible as well.
Yeah.
Good. Pretty good.
So there's one question I wanted to ask in the random bits, but I'm going to ask it now, considering we've talked about like competitiveness and everything. You two communities that you've got near you, your Bun Cannons, your Letterkenny. Mm-hmm. Obviously, you say that you're sort of in between each other. You've got guys coming across and going to different shops and stuff. When you get together in games, do you find it's like a little local rivalry? It's like us versus them, fucking Letterkenny, your shit, and all of that sort of stuff. Does it become a bit tribal?
I don't know if the lads are watching, so if they watch this back and all, I'll probably get called out in this later if I do. There is rivalry, but not where you think it is. I don't think there's rivalry between Buncrana and Letterkenny. I think there's rivalry within Letterkenny and a rivalry within Buncrana. So, if anything, there are groups within both that get on better together than probably within their own as well. And I swear this is a brag that the Letterkenny guys have. We have a painting night every Monday on our Discord, and they have a painting night every Thursday on their Discord. Our gaming group usually meets on Thursdays to play in Buncrana, so we're not usually joining one. They are in spades on our Monday night, to the fact of there's always a Letterkenny person there, even if there's no Buncrana person on the Discord. And I think it's become a matter of pride now because they're always there. Like, I can't always join with work commitments and all sometimes, and when I'm looking at it, I'm like, damn, you guys are still there. And it's like 1 a.m. in the morning. I'm like you are outshowing us so much. Like, but they have I think they have a bigger painting group from the core ones there, but they've been playing a lot longer than most of the Buncrana ones. Buncrana ones, beyond myself, and probably Joe and a few other randomers that have come in over the years, or over the year, that have been playing from back editions. A lot of them are very new. Like 9th edition was their first edition, or 10th even in some cases was their first edition. So yeah, it's a different club aspect. A funny story though, from the Letterkenny group, my first ever interaction with Warhammer was before I ever owned my first model. I was back with 1st or 2nd edition. One of the Letterkenny guys, who they all know, and who's the son of my sister's godmother and godfather, he used to play Warhammer in his garage on the pool table with a turned up board with all the siren rain and all, Orcs versus Space Marines with old metal landers and all. I had no idea what it was at the time. But then, obviously, when I started playing in like 3rd with Nids, I was like, oh wow, that was that game. And he was the one that got me into like a lot of my strategy games at all time, like XCOM. He was the first person ever showed me Resident Evil at a very young age. He probably shouldn't have. But he was a very sound person. I actually got to play a couple of PC games with him last year for the first time in years. I haven't seen him, and it was really nostalgic and good and all. But it's just nice to see that the communities are kind of merged there as well. Like there's no real association between me and Letterkenny guys, except for Adrian. I met Letterkenny guys through our gaming group that I think Joe introduced it to him, and there's actually loads of those within the group. Joseph, best friend basically, he almost started a gaming club in the Northwest with one of the guys at Letterkenny because they met on boards, and literally only for I think him going to Dublin for college and Gary staying in Letterkenny and working up there, it just never happened, unfortunately. But they could have met and been fast friends. So all these little connections in Donegal that could have happened that have now all come back together years later. It's just astounding. I absolutely love it. Like,
So one of the questions I meant to actually ask you when we were doing the random bits, I think I just got a bit sidetracked with Fight Club and Marlowe's dildos, was what do you do what do you do to chill out when you're not painting and you're not working? What do you like to do to like downtime?
Jeez, I think painting is my downtime. It's the least one I do. Like I have a great pile of shame for a good reason. I am so hard to get started into painting sometimes. I procrastinate so much. So anything from YouTube videos to board games to games on either PC, console, going out with the kids for their stuff at the weekends and all as well. Just, I'd say to wind down, I still do enjoy a good FPS game. So anything from really tactical shooter to just run and gun. Helldivers 2 is a big one, obviously, at the moment. Yeah. Stuff like nice kind of to wind down, decompress, and just enjoy. I am a glutton for work as well, though. So I oddly like problem solving. So that's why my job fits me quite well. So I do enjoy doing that, and to the detriment of everything else around me, sometimes I'll just be working late in that, and it's just enjoyable to pick apart problems and be satisfied with the solution at the end. But definitely to wind down, FPS games are the easiest thing. It's just to sit there, blow stuff up. It's great.
If there was one model that you would like to have seen built for your Black Templars, any character out there that you would like to be made for yourself specifically?
Yeah, it's sitting. Oh, wait, do you mean one that exists or one that
It
is
doesn't
made?
exist. It doesn't exist.
Um, do, 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 do. I'm probably thinking too big, like a Black Templar battle barge or something like that, just an actual model to be able to build and something, because they are the biggest chapter, whether you like to admit it or not. Do not count them all, so there's loads of them out there. But no, there's been lots of Emperor's Champions. Definitely from reading Hell's Reach, which is the Grimaldus book on Armageddon. I definitely wanted Bard, the Emperor's Champion, but GW being GW released it, so I own it. It's not painted yet, but that would have been the answer before that. I absolutely love just the symbolism of him. He's very little in the book, but everything was just kick-ass about him. If they released the Grimaldus squad Grimaldus from that book, all the individual characters, their own little dimensions and all the sword brethren from it, yeah, 100% would love that. That would be the only other one that doesn't exist now at a small level. But I still want to go big. Battle Barge. I want the Battle Barge. Big, massive Battle Barge.
And when you're doing your painting, what is it you listen to? Are you listening to audiobooks or music, or are you listening to a podcast, or does it just depend on what mood you're in?
Or have you got Fight Club on again?
Do you know what? I've never actually watched Fight Club and painting. That's an I think I would be too engrossed in it, and it would distract me more than anything else. I'll go back and forth between like various painting tutorials about like techniques and stuff while I'm painting. I just need to, because again, I'm not a good painter. Like if I sit down and follow guides and kind of that stuff as I'm going to pick about like how do you paint metal and all, I'll do okay. But judging which color looks better beside each other, I really am terrible at it, and it's just I get lucky sometimes, so that's about it. I'd say I've got a lot of YouTube guilty pleasures. Anything from Linus Tech Tips, absolutely love all the videos. Recently, if anyone watches it, Caleb Hammer, the financial audit stuff, it's dark, but it's good. Like these people that are like 66 and 50 credit cards in the US all maxed out, and like, wow, how did you get there, kind of thing. Just very little, a lot of little YouTube stuff. But I'll go on benders and stuff as well. Like I think at the moment my suggestion or algorithm is Law and Order, the clips of Law and Order. So just spamming those with them. So it's very random, I know. I definitely audiobooks, but I'd say random YouTube stuff or random TV series, comfort TV series, Band of Brothers or something in the background, that kind of thing. Red Dwarf, anything that I can remember by audio and just get a chuckle out of while I'm painting as well. So I don't think I like any visual distractions, so it needs to be like to the side of me to listen when I'm painting. I think if it's visual, I'll stop painting and watch it instead.
I've actually just started watching Band of Brothers for the first time. There was that many YouTube clips came up, and I was like, right, YouTube, I'll start watching Band of Brothers. So I think I'm on chapter 4.
Yeah.
Hang on, for the first, did you say?
At first, I was like, if I
like I don't like watching a lot of military TV series especially
Makes sense. You've come from the military.
because like I think it was like Soldier that put me off. Like when you like Robson and Jerome Soldier. It's like when I joined the army, I was like that just didn't ever happen. Like and
When did you
like,
sing karaoke in the army? Yeah, that
I
wasn't
know,
fun.
like
You've had
all the time.
it twice, right? So you've definitely seen Sharp,
Oh
right?
yeah.
You have
Yeah,
military one as well, but
but Sharp's different because that's like more like Napoleonic times. So it's a different era.
It's
Like
like
I don't like
200 years ago.
watching. Yeah, like I can't say oh that was shite tactics. Even though I can say that about World War One or World War Two. I'll watch a war movie, but like TV series, I just feel as though I never. Like it's only because the algorithm in YouTube is forcing me to watch all these David Schwimmer parts on Band of Brothers. I was like, right, okay,
yeah.
YouTube. I'll load up the IPTV and I've never watched Sopranos either. And it's one of the ones like I'll never watch it just because and like The Wire as well. Like I've never watched The Wire. I think I watched the first series, but then I never.
You got to stick with the wire, yeah.
Like I have a massive backlog. I'm sure everyone else does, not just grey minis, but like TV series and stuff like that. And the comfort watching it is what kills me when it comes to that. But I wish I could go back and erase my memory and watch Band of Brothers again for the first time. Oh, I would love that. It's great. Like even rewatching it, and you'll absolutely love every part of it. Watch the extended, like the interview with all the people afterwards as well. I think that at the very surprised one of it where it tells you all their names and you were trying to guess who was who, and it's just like oh that's fantastic as well. But yeah, just such a great series. Jealous.
I think it's as well as like I remember my grandfather telling me stories about when he was in D-Day and my Uncle Charlie, he was a paratrooper as well, and him telling them stories. And then I just feel as though if I'm watching a TV show, it might just kind of taint that vision of the stories that they told me firsthand because of TV and that poetic license that they kind of put on
Yeah.
things. I mean, because like I was reading about the character David Schwimmer played today, and people were up in arms about that because that wasn't how he actually was in real life. But it's also the same as like if you watch Zulu, right? The guy that is Hicks, no,
Thousands everywhere.
the one that's the kind of rebel. He wasn't, and he won a Victoria Cross that day. He wasn't like that either. So it's just that whole kind of puts me off a wee bit. But
You know what? The drills, the colour sergeant in Zulu, he wasn't apparently as tall as he was in the film.
or as old.
No, he was like 5'7" and 20 years old. He's buried in the cemetery near me, and I still haven't gone and found his grave yet. I'll do it one day. But he's like the local famous dead person is the sergeant from Zulu. So yeah, my little town's proud of that. It's a weird one to be proud of, but there you go.
Yeah.
And
Well, my dad's town in Ireland has got the guy from Jaws buried in it. So, and we've talked about that before, Dunk. I won't bring up Jaws again for you.
That's like PTSD shark wasps. So like we've had Mark on, and he was like big and like we enjoyed having him on. How would you rate Mark as a tabletop player?
when he started, because this is another one, Mark, who's obviously back in the club and everything now as well, we grew up playing Warhammer with Mark as well. That's another connection that we built back in here. So I've since the very early days when we started playing in Kieran McKinney's shed at the time. So Joe would know him too. Mark started quite casual and he's gone more competitive compared to the rest of the folks in the Buncrana group, and he's gotten very, very good. Like his sister's army is top notch. He's a great painter as well, and he's very good. He's a very analytical thinker. You can see the cogs moving, kind of thing. And I would say the only detriment to Mark is the same to any competitive player is the lack of reps, the lack of games. The more you play, the better you'll get. Like anything, practice makes perfect. So like he's more than capable to like take home the gold, and it may just come down like any losses I would imagine are not down to his list building. It might just be little subtle mistakes throughout the game that he's just not practice against, or he doesn't know the opponent's armies as well. Like I haven't played all armies in 10th edition yet. Still haven't played GSC. Got to play Necrom from the time of the recent tournament. It's very odd, obviously, in tournaments. You don't have a guarantee that you're going to play different armies every time. You could be playing Space Marines the entire time, due to the gutting of them. But Mark is a very good player, and we've got good players in the club. I don't think we have any bad players. Like I think it's the case there is no bad players in 10th edition anymore. It's just the armies might be not as competitive, so you don't want to be bringing two super like a super competitive army versus a very fluffy army. If you're going to play that type of game, again, like anything else, play with intent. Like, I'm going into this game with 2,000 points against you. What sort of game are we playing? Are we just playing like a bit of fun kind of thing? We'll play a mission, play secondaries and all. I'll bring some units that I don't usually get to see. Or do you want me to test your list? Do you want me to go through everything and be not an absolute ass, but just be like very strict on everything and make sure you're doing everything? Remind you about stuff, but be strict on it. Like, you forgot to move that unit, we're into the charge phase, you can't move it, that kind of thing. And definitely Mark is past that stage where you need to correct him on anything. He knows the core game through and through. So yeah, he's good player. I don't have as nice an ass as him. That's the only downside I can say about him, unfortunately. So,
one thing I want to ask you about, like, see when you're doing your practice games for your tournaments, and say you're playing Joe or Mark, and you're trying something new. Have you ever been doing a practice game and realised early on that what you're doing is possibly too strong or too weak, and then try to reset it?
Yeah, so again, it depends on the intent of the game. If I was playing a brand new list against somebody that just wanted their first 2,000 point game, I don't think I'd bring a hyper competitive one. I think I'd try some like fun and fluffy units and just get like a feel for them. Like, maybe I want to try something different as well. Like, maybe I just want to see how this unit behaves. Because like, you can read a unit all day long, but until you play it and play the reps and the different things that you intend to go against, you don't really get a proper feel for it. So I've definitely had games where I'm like, I am really beating this person and I don't think they're having a good time. I'm not going to like take my foot off the accelerator, but I'm not going to be like all proud and mighty of like, I'm kicking your ass kind of thing like that. Some of the best games I've had are against Joe, and Joe says I beat him. I don't think I've ever actually beaten Joe ever in a game. I think we've come close to like a draw or something, and we are purely argumentative against each other. We have definitely had the conversation where it's like, do you want to have a fun game? Yeah, sure. It's never a fun game. It's always just competitive as well. But yeah, I've definitely gone into games where I've done wrong things in terms of like, oh, I know this list is terrible now. But I always play games to the end. Regardless of what happens, I'll play down to the clock or I'll play to the end of the game. I don't like the idea of forfeiting. I don't like the idea of saying I'm taking my models and going home kind of thing. But I built the list. I spent the time painting it most of the time. I spent the time bringing it, and I spent the time rolling the dice. I'm going to roll them all until I'm down to my last model and it's gone. I'm going to go, and I'm going to fight for every point. Doesn't matter if it's if you're playing WTC and it's 20-0, I'm going to fight for every single point I can get right down to the end. Whether it changes the influence of the score or the outcome, don't care. Every point's going to be fought for down to the very last model. And with all your games, go and play with intent, like I said, for fun, competitive and all. You'll have a better fun time, better game. Your opponent will enjoy it more. You'll enjoy it more. And the hobby as a whole will grow.
So just on obviously the helping someone to play but not letting them win thing. This is something I'm sort of going through in my personal life at the moment, because my boy's 5. He's starting to enjoy playing things and playing competitively, but I always remember being his age and being ultra competitive and getting stressed and angry and stuff when I lost. So I'm trying to encourage that, this is fun. It doesn't matter whether you win or lose, but I'm not backing down. I'm going to play you. Like, he enjoys I think the biggest one is Mario Kart. He really loves Mario Kart. He wants to play me at Mario Kart, but I'm going to smash him at it. I don't care. It's my game. I've been playing it since I was like 10. I will beast him at it. Do you think it's a little bit of a parental thing that is sort of coming in from that sort of thing, raising your kids and realizing, what, you guys have got to learn to take a loss every now and again, and then instilling that into the hobbying side of things as well? To help, it's not just to be a bit of a bully. It's just to help promote growth, really, at the end of the day, isn't it? I think I'm looking for a bit of reassurance for myself, maybe here. But
Like, look, I like being a dad. I love playing games with my kids. I love playing video games, board games, and all. I'm not going to say I'm the best parent in the world. I think anyone that says that is probably fooling themselves and probably isn't anyway. But definitely from a competitive side of things, I'm not a fan of the participation award kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I'm like, play, you learn. You'll learn things from that. You learn from your losses, you learn from your victories, and you will come out better from it. Even if it's just taking how to lose. Like, a lot of people have, especially in the modern, a lot of people don't know how to lose or be wrong. Like, accept that you can be wrong, accept that you can lose, that you can have a bad time, and learn from it. And I'm the same with you as Mario Kart. And like, but like, we play board games together as well. So we played Trivia Pursuit there, the kids one. And my youngest gets a little bit stressed at the moment with some questions. So she's like, how would I even know this? Like, it was a question about like Guatemala or something. And she's like, I don't even know. And she's 9. So we're like, it doesn't matter. Like, there are questions that we don't know either. And that's the way it works. Either you know it or you don't, or you guess in some situations when it gives you multiple choice. I was just getting her to calm down and realize that. But the greatest victory for me out of all those games and not letting people win is my middle daughter won. So the prize for that is she gets to pick the takeout next Saturday when we're going out. So she can pick out for everyone, which is a great little prize to have. And I think it incentivizes the rest of them to also go, do you know what, I'm going to win eventually. I'm going to take them down. And then you're all the better for it. The victory given to you is not a victory. The victory won is like sweeter than anything. Yeah. Like, it's so much better that way. And again, just to repeat it again, I think a lot of people don't try and learn from their losses. And that could be a lot, absolutely anything from games to life or anything like that. And you should try and take everything from a loss that you can and turn it around. You might not get everything from it that you need. You might not win again. You might lose multiple times in a row. But take everything that you can from it and like advance yourself in some way, shape, or form from it. Like, work is an obvious one. I get things wrong in work, and I just try and learn from it and don't do it again. It's the easiest way. That's developed my career over the time as well. I'm very risk adverse now. It's like, I know what I'm doing. I'm not going to risk anything. But that's learned over time. From being like courageous and trying things at the time as well, and to apply the same to most of life. I'm not going to say I'm perfect. I'm not brave enough to absolutely try absolutely everything. I get nervous and afraid like everyone else. But when you push yourself to try those things, even if you fail, you can usually learn from something and take from it, and you'll be better for it. Or people around you will be better for it. I think if everyone could learn from their losses, society might be slightly better than what it is right now. Yeah, that was a deep thought.
No. Listen, Shane, I think we're going to call it time there because I need to go I need to pick up my son at 10 o'clock. He's finishing work, and
the kid.
Woe betide he has to use his wee legs to walk from Ballabouffet to Stranraer. Woe betide him. We've absolutely had an amazing time having you on, man. Like, learned so much about tabletop and how good Mark as a player is now compared to how he used to be. For people that don't follow you, and if you want to plug out the shop as well, now's your time.
I'm Root to You Gaming on Instagram. I'm Root in most other places. If you find me, spelled as a 0 and then an O because nerdy. But definitely, if you're in the Buncrana area, and they also do orders online, portercomputers.ie. I think it might be Porter Computer. If you just Google Porter Computers, you'll find it. It might be Porter Computer Repairs. All your Warhammer needs, if it's not in stock, get in touch with them through the shop, and they'll order it in for you, including pre-orders and everything like that. You've got your discount as well. I think it's at least 5 or 10% discount in the shop there, so you can get it cheaper than you get it from GW. And if you're in Ireland, as everyone knows, if you order anything like Element or anything, you're paying VAT on that. You're not paying VAT off these shops. So definitely look up Porter Computer Repairs. Get your Warhammer from there. And if you're in Buncrana, drop in the shop. We're there every Thursday, including tomorrow, from 7:30-ish. I say ish because it's always ish. 7:30 in there. You can find Donegal Dice Slingers on Instagram, Facebook, and all as well. That's our local club. You'll see more content on that than you will from my account. So that's the one I would recommend following or finding if you're interested at all. Lots of very talented painters in our group, and you get to see a hobby post once every week, including Duncan this week, who was the top picture. That, by the way, Duncan, is completely random. I do not put anyone first by intention. It is 100% random of who gets the first photo from the Instagram thing. So, yeah.
Eric was happy to be Pride of Places #1 this week.
Yeah, and he deserved it. Good painting.
For anybody who is in Donegal over the weekend and they want to have a look at what Letterkenny Gamers Guild and Donegal Dice Winners do, but they're having their event. I never knew it was on this weekend, or would I went, but I'm going to Derry for a night out with the wife. They're on Saturday at Bonnedy Football Community Centre Club. If it's your first time down there, it's free. I'm pretty sure it's still free if you're going to participate. Or if it's your second time, it's going to cost you €10. And they're I think it's 1 o'clock. But if you look on their Facebook or Instagram, I'm sure you'll find details. Casey, any last words of wisdom from yourself?
No last words of wisdom, but one quick question. What is the takeaway for Friday?
Oh, it's Saturday takeaway, but
Sorry.
it is, and I'll plug this place because it's lovely as well. Sherpa in Buncrana, the best Indian that you will get in the entire of Ulster, if not Ireland, in my opinion. So
there you go.
I don't know about that. Paradise and Ball Buffet is pretty good now. So
try Sherpa, man, and then tell me. So
yeah,
some great ones at Dublin.
Right, folks.
Sherpa.
Thanks to everybody for joining us. This will be on YouTube once the IT guy / son comes home from work, hopefully, and he's still speaking to me. Next week we have a guest on who I can't remember their name is. Luke Panache, is it? Is it Luke Panache?
The Sunday guest, I think.
All right. Well, we've got somebody on next week, as always. Shane, thanks for coming on. If you're more than happy to come on, maybe later on during the year, we can catch up with you and see how your Poland tournament went and any other tournaments and how the renovations are on in the house. Thanks for joining us, folks, and have a lovely rest of your Wednesday.
That was a pleasure, lads. Good luck. See you all later.
Bye.